The iron collar around Wren Nightshade's neck had rubbed her skin raw for 3 years, but it was the chain rattling behind her that truly marked her as property. She hauled another bucket of slop toward the pig pen, muscles burning from 12 hours of labor without rest, while Gregor the moneylender watched from his porch with eyes that calculated profit in every movement she made. The autumn wind carried the scent of wood smoke and coming frost across the frontier valley, and Wren wondered if she would live to see another spring. She emptied the bucket and turned back toward the farmhouse, careful to keep her eyes down. 3 years ago, her father had borrowed 30 silver marks to pay for medicine during the plague that swept through the border settlements. He had died anyway, along with her mother and younger brother, leaving Wren alone with a debt she could never repay. Gregor had offered her a choice: debtor's prison or indentured service. She had chosen the chain. The other farmhands gave her wide berth as she crossed the yard. Humans always did. Her green skin and small tusks marked her as orc, and orcs were monsters in the eyes of most frontier folk. Never mind that her clan had lived peacefully in these valleys for generations, trading furs and metalwork with the human settlements. Never mind that she had been born here, just like them. The color of her skin was all they needed to see. Wren was hauling water from the well when the stranger rode up the dirt path to Gregor's farm. He sat tall in his saddle despite the weariness that lined his face, a man perhaps 30 years old with brown hair touched by sun and wind. His clothes spoke of long travel, his boots worn but well made. He dismounted with the careful movement of someone whose body remembered old injuries, and Wren noticed the way his left leg took his weight a fraction slower than his right. "I'm looking for Gregor the moneylender," the stranger said, his voice carrying across the yard. It was a good voice, steady and clear without being harsh. Gregor emerged from his house, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. "That's me. What business do you have?" The stranger pulled a leather pouch from his saddlebag. "I'm here about a debt. The Nightshade family. 30 silver marks, plus 3 years of interest at your usual rates. I calculate that comes to 42 marks total." Wren's hands went numb on the water bucket. She stared at the stranger, not understanding what was happening. Gregor's eyes narrowed with suspicion and greed. "The debt's mine to collect. The orc girl works it off. What's it to you?" "I'm paying it," the stranger said simply. He counted coins onto a barrel beside the well, silver and copper marks clinking in neat stacks. 42 marks. Count them." Gregor did twice, biting several coins to test their authenticity. When he finished, he looked up with a calculating expression. "The debt's cleared, but there's the matter of the collar and chain. Those are mine, expensive to have made. If you want them removed, that's another 5 marks." Wren saw something flash in the stranger's eyes, cold and dangerous as winter ice, but his voice remained steady. "You would charge a woman for the privilege of having your shackles removed from her neck. Business is business," Gregor said with a shrug. The stranger's jaw tightened. Then he counted out 5 more marks. "Remove them. Now." Gregor fetched his keys, still grinning like he had won some victory. He unlocked the collar from Wren's neck with rough hands, not bothering to be gentle. The iron fell away and Wren gasped at the sudden absence of weight. Her neck felt strange, impossibly light. 3 years she had worn that collar, 3 years of knowing exactly how far she could move before the chain pulled taut. "Debt's paid. She's free to go," Gregor said, pocketing the keys. He returned to his house without another word, already counting his windfall. Wren stood frozen in the yard, one hand touching the raw skin of her neck. The stranger gathered his horse's reins and turned to leave, clearly considering his business concluded. "Wait," Wren called out, her voice hoarse from disuse. She rarely spoke on the farm, there was no one to talk to. Why did you do that? The stranger paused, looking back at her. Up close, she could see his eyes were gray, the color of river stones. Does there need to be a reason to right a wrong? Everyone has reasons, Wren said. What do you want from me? Nothing. He said it simply, as if it were the most natural thing in the world to spend 47 silver marks on a stranger and expect nothing in return. That's not how the world works, Wren said. No one does something for nothing. The stranger was quiet for a moment, studying her face. My name is Callum Oakes. I'm a veteran of the Northern campaigns. I've seen what debt chains do to people. I swore that if I ever had the means, I would break them when I could. Today, I had the means. That's all. 47 silver marks is not nothing, Wren said. That's more than most frontier farmers see in a year. Callum shrugged. I collected my veteran's pension and hazard pay. I don't need much. You needed freedom more than I needed the coin. He started to turn away again. I am Wren Nightshade, she said quickly, the words tumbling out. And by the old laws of my people, when someone saves an orc's life, that orc owes a life debt. You freed me, so I pledge you my life in return. I will serve you with loyalty until the debt is repaid. Callum stopped walking. He turned back, shaking his head. I didn't do it to bind you to some new obligation. You're free. That means you can go wherever you want, do whatever you want. I have nowhere to go, Wren said, and the truth of it was bitter in her mouth. My family is dead. My clan cast me out when I took the debt chain. They said I shamed them by serving humans. I have no home, no coin, and winter is coming. If you will not accept my service, then I will starve in a ditch somewhere. Is that what you want? Callum ran a hand through his hair, clearly uncomfortable. That's not fair. You're trying to manipulate me. I am trying to survive, Wren said flatly, and I am trying to honor the laws of my people. A life debt is sacred. Please, let me repay what you have given me. They stood there in the farmyard, the autumn sun slanting low through the trees. Finally, Callum sighed. I'm heading west to a homestead I bought near the Copper River. It's rough country and the land needs a lot of work. I was planning to do it myself, but I suppose I could use help. I can offer you room and board, and when spring comes, a fair wage for your labor. But I want to be clear, this is employment, not servitude. You can leave whenever you want. I will not leave until my debt is paid, Wren said firmly. Where you go, I go. What you need, I will provide. This is my oath. Callum looked like he wanted to argue further, but something in Wren's expression stopped him. All right, he said at last. Get whatever belongings you have. We leave within the hour. Wren almost laughed. Her belongings fit in her cupped hands. A wooden comb her mother had carved, a small knife with a worn handle, and a scrap of cloth embroidered with her clan's mark. Everything else had been sold to pay the debt or taken by Gregor. She showed Callum her meager possessions, and something sad flickered across his face. Well then, he said quietly, I guess we can leave now. They rode west through the afternoon, Wren sitting behind Callum on his sturdy bay mare. She had not been on a horse in 3 years, and the freedom of movement felt dizzying. The chain was gone. She could run if she wanted, could walk into the forest and never look back. But she did not. She had made an oath, and her oath was iron. Callum did not talk much as they traveled. He pointed out landmarks, asked if she was comfortable, offered water from his canteen. Basic courtesies, nothing more. But he did not flinch from her touch when she gripped his waist for balance, did not pull away from her green-skinned hands. That alone was remarkable. They camped that night beside a stream, beneath stars that blazed cold and bright. Callum built a fire with practiced efficiency and shared his travel rations. Hard bread, dried meat, and wrinkled apples. It was the best meal Wren had eaten in years. Gregor had fed her scraps and gruel, the bare minimum to keep her working. Tell me about your homestead, Wren said as they ate. What kind of work needs doing? Callum poked at the fire with a stick. The previous owner died without heirs. The land went cheap because it has not been worked in 2 years. The cabin needs repairs, the fields need clearing, and there's a barn that's half collapsed. It will be hard work, especially with winter coming. We will need to hunt and preserve meat, chop firewood, make sure the cabin is tight against the cold. I am strong, Wren said. Orcs are stronger than humans. I can lift heavier loads, work longer hours. You will not regret bringing me. I'm not worried about regret, Callum said. I'm worried about you working yourself to death trying to repay a debt that doesn't exist. The debt exists, Wren said firmly. You may not see it, but I do, and I will honor it. Callum looked at her across the fire, his gray eyes thoughtful. Why is it so important to you? Wren was quiet for a long moment, watching sparks rise toward the stars. Because it is all I have left, she said finally. My family is dead. My clan has disowned me. For 3 years I was property, a thing to be used. You gave me back my name, my freedom. That is worth more than silver. That is worth everything. So yes, I will work hard. I will serve loyally. Because that debt is mine to pay, and paying it makes me a person again instead of just a thing. Callum did not respond right away. When he spoke, his voice was gentle. You were always a person, Wren, even with the chain. Even in Gregor's service, that did not change. It felt like it changed, Wren said softly, but thank you for saying so. They reached the homestead 2 days later in the afternoon when the light turned the copper river to flowing bronze. The land was beautiful in a wild, untamed way, rolling meadows giving way to dense forest, the river cutting a silver line through the valley. The cabin sat on a small rise, log walls weathered but sound. The barn, as Callum had warned, sagged dangerously to one side. They spent the first week simply making the place livable. Callum worked on the cabin roof, replacing rotted shingles and sealing gaps with pitch. Wren threw herself into clearing the barn, hauling away debris and reinforcing the support beams with logs dragged from the forest. She worked from dawn until dark, pushing her body to its limits. On the 8th day, Callum stopped her as she was hauling her 5th massive log of the morning. Wren, stop. She set the log down, breathing hard. I am not finished. The barn needs more supports. The barn can wait. You need to rest. I do not need to rest. I need to work. Callum stepped in front of her, blocking her path back to the forest. Listen to me. You are going to hurt yourself. I have seen soldiers drive themselves like this, trying to prove something. It never ends well. I am proving that I am worth what you paid for me, Wren said. You do not have to prove anything, Callum said, frustrated. I told you I do not think of you as property or a servant. You are a person helping me with my land. That is all. That is not all, Wren said. Not to me. They stared at each other, both stubborn. Finally, Callum sighed. At least take the afternoon off. We caught those fish this morning. Help me cook them. Rest for a few hours, please. It was the please that made Wren relent. She nodded and they walked back to the cabin together. Cooking with Callum was strange. Wren had not prepared food with another person since before her family died. Callum showed her how he liked to season the fish with wild herbs he gathered from the riverside, and she showed him an orc technique for wrapping them in leaves to steam over the fire. They worked in companionable silence, and when they ate, the fish was delicious. You are a good cook, Callum said. Better than me. My mother taught me, Wren said. She said that cooking was an art, same as blacksmithing or carving. It deserved respect. She sounds wise. She was. Wren set down her plate, appetite suddenly gone. I miss her. I miss all of them. Callum was quiet, but his silence felt understanding rather than awkward. After a moment he said, I lost my whole squad in the northern campaigns. 15 men I had fought beside for 3 years. We were ambushed in a mountain pass. I was the only one who made it out. He touched his left leg unconsciously. Nearly did not make it myself. The healers said I would never walk without a cane. I proved them wrong, but it still aches when the weather turns. I am sorry, Wren said. That must have been terrible. It was. Still is some days, but we keep living. We honor them by living. He met her eyes. Your family would not want you to work yourself to death, Wren. They would want you to live. Truly live, not just survive. Wren felt something crack inside her chest, something that had been frozen for 3 years. Tears burned her eyes and she turned away, ashamed to show such weakness. But Callum did not laugh or scold. He simply sat beside her, a quiet presence, until the tears stopped. The days grew shorter as autumn deepened toward winter. Wren and Callum fell into a rhythm, working together on the endless tasks the homestead demanded. They reinforced the barn, chopped firewood until they had a supply that would last through the coldest months, and hunted deer and rabbits to smoke and preserve. Callum taught Wren to use a bow, and she taught him orc tracking techniques passed down through generations. Slowly, carefully, they learned each other. Wren discovered that Callum woke before dawn and always made tea first thing, that he hummed old army songs while he worked, that he was patient with tools but frustrated when things did not fit together properly. Callum learned that Wren was fiercely proud and hated asking for help, that she had a dry sense of humor that caught him off guard, that she sang sometimes in her own language when she thought no one was listening. The first snow came in late November, soft flakes that melted on contact. They were in the barn when it started, reinforcing the last of the support beams. Wren paused in her work, watching the snow fall through the open door. "Something wrong?" Callum asked. "I have not seen the first snow as a free woman in 3 years," Wren said quietly. "Gregor always locked me in the cellar when winter came, said I ate too much and was not worth keeping above ground when there was less work to do." Callum's face went hard. "That man is a monster." "Many humans are monsters to orcs," Wren said. "You are the exception, not the rule." "That does not make it right." "No," Wren agreed, "but it makes it true." They finished the barn work in silence. That night, as they ate dinner in the cabin, Callum said, "Tell me about your clan. What were they like?" Wren was surprised by the question. Most humans never asked about orc culture, assuming orcs had no culture worth knowing. They were metalworkers primarily. We made tools and weapons that the human settlements bought. Good steel, fair prices. My grandfather was clan chief. He believed that orcs and humans could live peacefully side by side. "You use the past tense," Callum noted. "He died 5 years ago. My uncle became chief and he had different ideas. He thought we should separate ourselves, have nothing to do with humans. When the plague came and my father borrowed human money, my uncle saw it as a betrayal. When I took the debt chain to honor my father's obligation, he said I had disgraced the clan. They cast me out." "That is cruel," Callum said. "You were trying to do the honorable thing." "Honor means different things to different people," Wren said. "My uncle saw it as weakness, choosing servitude to humans over death. I saw it as honoring my father's memory. We were both right. We were both wrong." She shrugged. "It does not matter now. I am no longer part of that clan." "Do you miss them, some of them?" "My cousins, my aunt, but I cannot go back. That door is closed." Callum was quiet for a moment, then he said, "Doors can reopen. People can change their minds." "Perhaps," Wren said, but she did not believe it. Winter came in earnest in December, blanketing the valley in white. The cabin became their whole world, warm and close while the wind howled outside. They worked on indoor tasks. Callum repaired tools and tack. Wren sewed and mended clothes. They cooked together, ate together, talked through the long evenings. And somewhere in those close winter days, something shifted. Wren caught herself watching Callum as he worked, noticing the strength in his hands, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled. She found herself looking forward to mornings, to the moment when he would emerge from his sleeping alcove and greet her. She told herself it was simply gratitude, the natural affection one felt for a kind employer. But it felt like more than that. Callum seemed equally affected, though he fought it just as hard. Wren caught him looking at her sometimes, his expression unguarded and wondering. But then he would turn away, and they would both pretend nothing had changed. It could not last. The tension between them grew like ice spreading across a pond, inevitable and impossible to ignore. The breaking point came on a bitter January night when Wren woke to the sound of Callum crying out in his sleep. She was across the cabin before she fully woke, kneeling beside his sleeping alcove. He thrashed in his blankets, lost in some nightmare. "Callum," she said urgently, gripping his shoulder. "Wake up, you are safe, you are home." His eyes snapped open, wild and unseeing, then they focused on her face and he gasped. "Wren, you were dreaming," she said gently. "Are you all right?" Callum sat up, running shaking hands through his hair. "I am sorry, I did not mean to wake you. Do not apologize. Everyone has nightmares." She hesitated, then asked, "Do you want to talk about it?" "It was the ambush," Callum said quietly. "I dream about it sometimes. I see their faces, hear their voices calling for help, and I can never reach them in time. I never reach them." Without thinking, Wren wrapped her arms around him. Callum stiffened for a moment, then relaxed into her embrace, his face pressed against her shoulder. They stayed like that for a long time, two broken people holding each other in the darkness. When they finally pulled apart, the air between them felt charged, electric. Callum looked at Wren, really looked at her, and she saw everything in his eyes: desire, fear, hope, confusion. "Wren," he said, his voice rough. We should not, why not?" Wren asked. She was trembling, terrified, and exhilarated at once. "Because I am an orc, because people would call it wrong. Because I do not want you to think you owe me this," Callum said. "Your life debt, your obligation, I do not want that to be the reason." "It is not," Wren said fiercely. "Callum, you fool. Do you think I have not noticed? Do you think I have not felt it too? This has nothing to do with debt." "This is about," she faltered, the words too big and too terrifying to say. "About what?" Callum asked softly. Wren took a shaking breath. "About the fact that I care for you, that somewhere between the first snow and now I started to love you. And it terrifies me because I do not know if you could ever feel the same about someone like me." Callum reached up and cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs gentle against her green skin. "Someone like you. Wren, you are brave and strong and kind. You work harder than anyone I have ever known. You make me laugh. You make me want to be better. How could I not love you?" The kiss, when it came, was soft and careful, two people learning each other. Wren tasted salt from Callum's tears, felt the warmth of his breath, the gentle pressure of his lips. It was nothing like she had imagined and everything she had hoped for. They pulled apart, foreheads resting together. "What do we do now?" Wren whispered. "We keep living," Callum said, "together, if that is what you want." "It is," Wren said, "more than anything." They spent the rest of the night talking, curled together in Callum's sleeping alcove. They spoke of hopes and fears, of the future they might build together. It would not be easy, they both knew that. An orc woman and a human man, together in a world that would call their love wrong. But they were both fighters, both survivors. They would face whatever came together. The spring thaw came in late March, turning the snow to rushing streams and coaxing green shoots from the earth. Wren and Callum emerged from their winter cocoon to find the world renewed. They planted fields together, breaking the soil and sowing seeds. They repaired the barn properly, making it strong enough to house livestock. They made plans for the future, chickens first, then perhaps a cow, maybe pigs by autumn. Life was good. Hard, but good. They worked side by side under the spring sun, and at night they fell into bed exhausted and happy. The homestead slowly transformed from a rough plot of land into a real home, but the outside world could not be avoided forever. In early May, a trader came through, following the river road. He stopped at the homestead to ask about purchasing any surplus goods and to share news from the settlements. The trader's eyes widened when he saw Wren, and something ugly flickered across his face. But he was professional enough to hide it, conducting his business with Callum while pretending Wren did not exist. As he was leaving, the trader said casually, "Fair word of warning, friend. There have been some tensions with the orc clans lately, raids on the northern settlements. Folks are getting nervous about greenskins living among us. You might want to reconsider your arrangement here." "I will consider your warning," Callum said, his voice dangerously polite. "Thank you for your concern." The trader rode off, and Wren felt cold despite the warm spring day. "He will talk," she said. "He will tell others that you are keeping an orc woman. There will be trouble." "Let there be trouble," Callum said fiercely. "This is our home. You belong here. If anyone has a problem with that, they can take it up with me." But Wren could not shake her unease. She had lived too long among humans who hated her to dismiss the threat so easily. Her fears proved justified 2 weeks later when a group of men rode up to the homestead. There were 6 of them, rough frontier types with hard eyes and weapons at their belts. Their leader was a big man with a scarred face who introduced himself as Marcus Dane, leader of the local militia. "We heard you have an orc living here," Dane said without preamble. "That true? I have a partner living here," Callum said carefully. "Her name is Wren Nightshade. Orc partner." Dane's lip curled. "That's not natural. It is not right." "What business is it of yours who I share my home with?" Callum asked, his voice level but cold. "It is the community's business when you are harboring a potential enemy," Dane said. "There have been raids up north. Orc raiders attacking human settlements. How do we know she is not a spy? How do we know she will not cut your throat in the night and lead her clan back here?" "Because I know her," Callum said, "and she has done nothing wrong. She is an orc. That's wrong enough for most folks." Dane leaned forward in his saddle. "Look, friend, I do not want trouble, but you need to send her away. Send her back to her clan or turn her out, I do not care, but she cannot stay here." "She stays," Callum said flatly. "This is my land. She is my partner. And you have no authority to tell me otherwise." Dane's face darkened. "You are making a mistake. When trouble comes, do not expect the community to help you." "I have never expected help from anyone," Callum said. "Now get off my land." The militia rode away, but their parting looks promised future trouble. Wren stood in the cabin doorway, her hands shaking. "You should not have defied them," she said. "They will make you pay for that." "I will not send you away," Callum said firmly. "I will not. They might force you. They might hurt you because of me." Callum took her hands, steadying them with his own. "Listen to me, Wren. I love you. I am not going to abandon you because some small-minded fools cannot see past their prejudice. We will face this together, all right." Wren nodded, but fear sat heavy in her stomach. She knew how these things went. She had seen other orcs driven from their homes, beaten or killed for the crime of existing where humans did not want them. She could not bear the thought of Callum being hurt because of her. The harassment started small. Someone scattered nails on the path to the homestead, laming Callum's horse. Their fences were knocked down, letting the chickens they had purchased wander into the forest. Supplies they had ordered from the settlement never arrived. Callum bore it with gritted teeth, repairing the damage and refusing to be driven off. But Wren could see the strain wearing on him. He slept poorly, always alert for the next incident. He was quick to anger, frustrated by his inability to stop the harassment. The breaking point came in early June. Wren had gone to the river to fish, wanting to give Callum some peace and quiet to repair the latest damage to their property. She was returning with a string of trout when she heard voices from the cabin. "Last warning, Oakes. Send the orc away or we will do it for you." "I told you before," she stays. Callum's voice, tight with anger and fear. "Then you are a traitor to your own kind. Maybe you need to be taught a lesson." Wren dropped the fish and ran. She burst into the clearing to see 4 men surrounding Callum. One held a club, another a length of rope. Callum had his back to the cabin wall, a knife in his hand, clearly preparing to defend himself against terrible odds. Something primal roared to life in Wren's chest. These men were threatening her partner, the man she loved. She would not allow it. She charged across the clearing with an orc war cry that made the men spin around in shock. Wren crashed into the nearest man like a battering ram, her greater weight and strength sending him sprawling. She ripped the club from another man's hands and swung it in a wide arc that sent 2 more scrambling back. "Get away from him," she roared. "Get off our land." The man with the rope tried to grab her from behind. Wren spun and headbutted him, her skull harder than his. He went down with a cry, clutching his broken nose. The others backed away, suddenly unwilling to face an enraged orc woman. "She attacked us," one man yelled. "You all saw it. The orc attacked humans. You were on my land threatening my partner," Callum said, moving to stand beside Wren. His knife was still in his hand. "You started this. Now finish it by leaving." The men retreated to their horses, shouting threats and promises of retribution. But they left, and that was what mattered. When they were gone, Wren turned to Callum. "Are you hurt?" "No, thanks to you." He touched her face gently. "That was incredibly brave and incredibly foolish. They could have killed you." "They were going to hurt you," Wren said. "I could not allow that. I know. I would have done the same for you." Callum sighed, looking exhausted. "But this is not going to stop. They will keep coming, and next time they might bring more men or worse." "Then I will leave," Wren said, the words tearing at her heart. "I will go far away and you will be safe." "No," Callum said fiercely. "We are not doing that. We are not letting them win." "Then what do we do?" Callum was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Then his face cleared with sudden determination. "We go to your clan." Wren stared at him. "What? Your clan, the Nightshade clan? You said they are metalworkers, that they trade with humans." "That means they have connections, resources, maybe even enough influence to protect us. If we can convince them to take us in, to let us live under their protection, the militia would not dare attack us." "My clan cast me out," Wren said. "They will not take me back. Maybe not before. But you are not alone anymore. You have me, and I am willing to fight for the right to be with you, to argue our case before your uncle. If he is any kind of leader, he will see reason. And if he does not, then we leave these lands entirely. We go west to the new territories where no one knows us. We start over, but I want to try this first. I want to try to build a life here where you grew up, where you have roots. Will you try with me?" Wren looked at Callum, at his determined face and hopeful eyes. He was willing to walk into an orc clan, to humble himself before her people, all for the chance to keep loving her. How could she do any less? "Yes," she said, "we will try." They prepared carefully for the journey. The Nightshade clan lived 3 days north, in the foothills where good iron ore could be found. It was dangerous territory for a human traveling alone, but Wren knew the paths and would keep Callum safe. They left on a clear June morning, locking the cabin behind them and hoping it would still be standing when they returned. The journey north was strange for Wren. She had not traveled these paths in 4 years, but her feet remembered the way. Every landmark brought memories. The lightning-split oak where she and her cousins had played, the stream where her father had taught her to fish, the meadow where her mother had gathered herbs. Callum walked beside her, alert for danger but also curious about everything. He asked questions about orc customs and traditions, clearly trying to prepare himself for meeting the clan. Wren answered as best she could, though she worried constantly about how her uncle would react. They reached the clan settlement on the evening of the 3rd day. It was built into the hillside, a mix of stone structures and timber buildings with forge smoke rising from multiple chimneys. Orcs moved about their business, carrying tools and materials, calling greetings to each other. It looked prosperous and peaceful. And it looked nothing like home, not anymore. Wren and Callum were spotted immediately. A group of young orc warriors approached, weapons ready, their eyes suspicious as they took in the human man walking beside one of their exiled kin. "Wren Nightshade," one of them said, his tone cold. "You are not welcome here." "I know," Wren said, keeping her voice steady, "but I need to speak with Chief Ulrich. It is important. The chief has nothing to say to you." "Then he can tell me that himself, please. I am asking for 5 minutes of his time. That is all." The warriors exchanged glances. Finally, one nodded. "Wait here, I will ask." They waited in tense silence, surrounded by hostile stares from passing orcs. Callum stood close to Wren, his hand resting on his knife hilt. She could feel his nervousness, his determination to protect her if needed. After what felt like an eternity, the warrior returned. "The chief will see you, but the human stays outside the hall." "No," Wren said firmly. "We speak together or not at all." More glances, more muttered consultation, then grudgingly, "Fine, come." They were led to the great hall, a large stone building at the heart of the settlement. Inside, the space was dominated by a central hearth and walls hung with examples of the clan's metalwork. Intricate tools, beautiful weapons, decorative pieces that gleamed in the firelight. At the far end sat Chief Ulrich, Wren's uncle. He was a big orc, his green skin weathered and scarred from years of forge work. His tusks were larger than most, filed to points in the old style. He looked older than Wren remembered, more tired. "Wren," he said, his voice like gravel. "You dare show your face here after bringing shame to our clan?" "I dare because I need your help," Wren said. "And because I believe I have earned the right to be heard." "You earned nothing but exile when you chose to serve humans," Ulrich said. "And now you bring one into our hall. You insult me further." "This human is Callum Oakes," Wren said. "He freed me from debt slavery. He has given me a home, treated me with respect and kindness, and he is willing to stand before you now to ask for the protection of the Nightshade clan so that we might live in peace." "Why would we protect you?" Ulrich demanded. "Why should we care what happens to an exile and her pet human?" Callum stepped forward before Wren could respond. "Because she is your family, and family should matter. Because protecting us costs you nothing but might gain you an alliance with a human who respects your people, and because it is the right thing to do." The hall went silent. Orcs did not interrupt a chief lightly, and a human doing so was nearly unthinkable. Ulrich's eyes narrowed dangerously. But then a voice spoke from the side of the hall. "The human speaks truth, uncle." A female orc stepped forward and Wren's heart leaped. Vera, her cousin, looking much the same as Wren remembered. They had been close as children, almost like sisters. "Vera," Ulrich said warningly. "No, I will speak," Vera said firmly. Wren honored her father's debt even when it cost her everything. She chose honor over comfort, and when she was freed, she did not turn her back on the human who helped her. She has shown loyalty and strength. Those are clan virtues. Why do we punish her for them? Other voices rose in agreement. younger orcs who had grown up with Wren, who remembered her as a friend and cousin. Ulrich looked around the hall, clearly surprised by the support Wren was receiving. Finally, he held up a hand for silence. "I will consider your request," he said to Wren, "but I will not decide tonight. You may stay in the clan settlement as guests until I make my decision. Touch nothing, speak to no one unless spoken to, and stay out of trouble." "Understood." "Understood," Wren said, relief flooding through her. It was not acceptance, but it was not immediate rejection either. It was a chance. They were given a small guest house on the edge of the settlement, barely more than a shed. But it had a roof and a fire pit, and after 3 days of sleeping rough, it felt like luxury. "That went better than I expected," Callum said as they settled in for the night. "It went better than I feared," Wren agreed. "But my uncle is stubborn. He may still refuse us." "Then we move on," Callum said, pulling her close. "But at least we tried." Over the next several days, Wren and Callum existed in a strange limbo. They were not quite prisoners and not quite guests. Some orcs ignored them entirely. Others offered cautious smiles or small gestures of kindness. Vera visited when she could, bringing food and news. "There is debate in the clan council," she told them on the 3rd day. "The elders remember the old ways when orcs and humans traded and sometimes even lived together. But others fear that accepting you would invite human anger down on the clan. The raids up north have made everyone nervous." "What does Ulrich think?" Wren asked. Vera shrugged. "He keeps his thoughts close, but I think he is troubled. He did not want to exile you, Wren. He felt he had no choice, that the clan's honor demanded it. Now he sees a chance to undo that decision, but he fears the consequences." "Tell him there is no honor in abandoning family," Callum said. "Tell him that love is worth more than fear." Vera smiled. "You are a strange human, Callum Oakes, but I like you. I will tell him." The summons came on the 5th day. Wren and Callum were brought again to the great hall, but this time the entire clan seemed to be gathered. Hundreds of orcs packed the space, all watching as Wren and Callum stood before the chief. Ulrich rose from his seat, his face unreadable. "Wren Nightshade, Callum Oakes. I have considered your request. I have consulted with the elders and listened to the voices of the clan, and I have come to a decision." The hall fell silent. Wren gripped Callum's hand, her heart pounding. "4 years ago I exiled you, Wren, because I believed you had brought shame to our clan," Ulrich said. "I believed that serving humans was a betrayal of our people. But I have thought much on this, and I have realized something. You did not serve humans. You honored a debt your father had made. You chose responsibility over comfort, duty over freedom. Those are the values we claim to prize in this clan. How could I punish you for embodying them?" He took a step forward, his voice carrying to every corner of the hall. "I was wrong to exile you. I let fear and prejudice guide my decision instead of wisdom. I am not too proud to admit my mistake. Wren Nightshade, I hereby end your exile. You are welcome again in the Nightshade clan, with all the rights and protections that come with membership." Wren felt tears streaming down her face. "Thank you, Uncle." "As for you, Callum Oakes," Ulrich continued, turning his attention to the human, "you have shown respect for our people and genuine love for one of our own. That is rare among humans. Therefore, I extend to you the protection of this clan. Any who threaten you threaten us. Any who harm you will answer to us. You are welcome to live on your homestead in peace under our protection as long as you wish." Callum bowed deeply. "I am honored, Chief Ulrich. Thank you." Ulrich raised his hands, addressing the entire clan. "Let it be known that Wren Nightshade and Callum Oakes are under our protection. Let the human settlements know that they are not alone. We will not tolerate harassment or violence against them. This is my word as chief." The hall erupted in cheers and stamping feet, the sound echoing like thunder. Vera pushed through the crowd to embrace Wren, both of them laughing and crying at once. That night, the clan held a feast to celebrate Wren's return. There was roasted meat and fresh bread, ale and music. Orcs who had shunned Wren for years now welcomed her back, apologizing for their coldness. Callum was treated with cautious respect, the orcs clearly unsure what to make of a human who loved one of their own but willing to accept him. Late in the evening, Ulrich pulled Wren aside. "I am sorry," he said quietly. "I should have trusted you. I should have protected you." "You are protecting me now," Wren said. "That is what matters. Be happy, niece, you have earned it." "I will," Wren promised. Wren and Callum returned to their homestead a week later, accompanied by a dozen orc warriors who made it clear that anyone causing trouble would answer to the Nightshade clan. The message spread quickly through the human settlements. The harassment stopped overnight. They rebuilt what had been damaged and continued the work of making their homestead prosper. But now, they did not work alone. Vera visited regularly, along with other members of the Nightshade clan. They shared techniques and knowledge, orc metalworking skill combined with human farming practices. The homestead flourished, and slowly, tentatively, other humans began to reach out. Traders who had refused to do business with them before now stopped by, curious about the orc-protected farm. A few frontier families, those less burdened by prejudice, visited and shared news and gossip. It was not acceptance, not yet. But it was a start. One warm evening in late summer, as the sun set over the Copper River, Wren and Callum sat on their porch, watching the light fade from gold to purple. They had spent the day bringing in the first harvest from their fields, and they were pleasantly exhausted. "I have been thinking," Callum said, "about the future." "What about it?" Wren asked, leaning against his shoulder. "About making things official. About standing before the clan and any humans who will witness and declaring that you are mine and I am yours. About marriage, Wren." Wren's breath caught. "You want to marry me, more than anything. I love you. I want to build a life with you, raise children with you if you want them, grow old beside you. I want everyone to know that you are my partner, my equal, my beloved. So I am asking you, Wren Nightshade, will you marry me?" Wren kissed him, tasting salt from her own tears. "Yes," she said against his lips. "Yes, absolutely yes." They were married in early autumn as the leaves turned gold and red. The ceremony blended orc and human traditions, held at the homestead with members of the Nightshade clan standing beside a handful of human neighbors. Ulrich performed the orc portion of the ceremony, binding their wrists with a silver chain that Wren's clan had forged. A human priest from the nearest settlement spoke the human vows, awkward but sincere in his blessing. It was small and imperfect and absolutely perfect. When Callum kissed his bride, the gathered crowd cheered, orc war cries mingling with human shouts of congratulation. The feast afterward lasted until dawn. Orcs and humans who had never spoken before found themselves talking, trading stories, discovering that they had more in common than they had differences. It would not solve all the problems between their peoples, but it was a bridge being built, one conversation at a time. As the sun rose on their wedding day, Wren and Callum stood together watching the light spread across their land, their home. "No more debts," Callum said softly. "You know that, right? Your life debt is long since paid if it ever truly existed." "I know," Wren said. "But I do not serve you out of debt anymore, Callum. I stand beside you out of love. I choose you every day freely." "I choose you too," Callum said. "Every day. Forever." They had both been broken when they met, shaped by loss and hardship into sharp edges that did not quite fit the world around them. But somehow, impossibly, they had fit each other. They had built something beautiful from the wreckage of their pasts, a home, a love, a future. And as they stood together in the rising sun, two people who the world said should not be together but who had refused to listen, they knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as they faced everything else. Together, the homestead thrived in the years that followed. Wren and Callum expanded their land, adding livestock and more fields. They built a larger house to accommodate the family they hoped to have. And when their first child was born, a daughter with her mother's green skin and her father's gray eyes, she was welcomed by both orc and human communities with joy. They named her Hope, because that was what she represented. Hope that the world could change, that love could bridge any divide, that two people who had been enslaved by debt and duty could find freedom in each other. And every year on the anniversary of the day Callum had cleared Wren's debt, they held a feast and invited everyone, orc and human alike, to celebrate not just their love but the simple truth that had brought them together. That kindness costs nothing, that freedom is precious, and that sometimes the best thing you can do for another person is to give without expecting anything in return. Because that was where it had started, with a man who had asked for nothing and a woman who had given him everything. And in the giving and receiving, they had both found something neither had been looking for: a home, a partner, a love that would last all their days. The debt was long since cleared, but the gratitude, the love, the choice to stand together against a world that said they should not exist, those would last forever. And in a cabin by the Copper River, as autumn leaves fell like gold coins and wood smoke rose to join the clouds, Wren and Callum Oakes lived the life they had built together, free and happy and home at last.